Okay. So anyway, back to the task at hand.
Yes.
We have water quality issues around here that need addressing, serious addressing. And we've had some conversations with this group about where we need to go. And it's not where we need to go, but how do we get there? That is the task before us. So we've had some thoughts. I know you've had some thoughts. Um, what are your thoughts?
Mostly, most most of this past winter and fall, since I have had time, it's always been a concern of mine because I'm surrounded by all these cows. But they're milking 7,000 on top of the hill, a mile away from me. I watched them tear up half a mile of hedgerow out, east and west, to build their new manure pond that runs down the hill and under the little salmon and right up my. And I don't mind. I had a horse that needed pairing, so they dug the hole for me. but but there's just so much, and how things have changed just since 2000, and how they apply their manure now. But I'm coming down the road today to here. I'm not sure whose fields they were, but there were pools of manure on top of the ground. Pools. Not just on the turn. They're here, they were there. And I couldn't tell you because, so much land changes hands so often. And I really, is it Cook? Is it Talca? Who is it?
Another along the same lines, a lot of the land is owned, but a lot of the land is rented. And the stewardship is not the same on rented land that it should be, or it isn't up to a standard that it should be. Rented land should be treated um, equally or better than owned land. And a lot of times it's not. So that's just another minor issue, along with the major issues of manure application on these fields.
Well, and the difference between the players involved is huge. From one farm, you see one farm implementing what we assume are best practices. You're not seeing the manure pile up. You're seeing it knifing it in. There's not a lot of stench. And then just down the road on an opposing field, there's puddles. And they're just flailing away.
Right.
It's just blowing it all
Right.
over.
And then you get a rain of, some measure, off it goes into our little drainage ditches and then into our streams. Just up the road here, half a mile is Yoggers Creek. And it used to be the premier trout stream in the Finger Lakes.
Every April 1st,
And
always in the
cars
paper.
be parked up and down the road, and you go up there now and you look down, and all you see is moss and algae growing in the little stream. And then when we do get a half inch of rain, it just roars down through there, just brown as can be. And I don't even know if there's any fish in the stream anymore. You hardly ever see cars up there anymore, people fishing on the 1st of April.
Yeah.
So, it's just another indication of some of the things that should be done to bring this, under control.
I came down today, Ridge Road. In fact, I'm not going to go to 90 and up. I think it'll be quicker. I don't have to slow down.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I took Spring Street rather than Davis. That's Davis that comes.
Yes, Davis is your north-south one, right?
All right. So I came down to Davis and over from Spring Street.
That's how I go.
What is it?
That's how I go.
Oh, all right. Well,
Yeah.
I went that way today, and I was the ditching on these east-west roads is scary. And it's not just because, back in the day, you could drive in and out of a ditch. And today, you're dying in a ditch.
That's deep.
But to see where a lot of the junctions or culverts are in the hollowing out of the bank sides, the stone and fill it has been exposed, and the soil that's been eroded.
Yep.
Now this week there's hardly a trickle in these creeks. The creeks and ditches are almost empty.
They are right now.
Yeah, there's very
Right.
little water running down through them. And for the farmer's sake, I hope we don't have a drought. But there's so much tiling in these fields. It's different up in Wayne County because there's all that stone and gravel up there.
Yeah.
But they were plowing up there like 2 weeks ago with horses,
Mm-hmm.
but they were plowing. I don't really think they're that long right now. I don't know what they're waiting for other than maybe it was a threat of rain.
Yeah.
But there's
So-
not a lot of soil
Right.
moisture.
So, just as a point of interest, that you're talking about, that ditch,
Hmm.
starts in that field where you come off from 34B and onto Ridge Road.
Yeah,
That's where that ditch starts.
Yeah.
That is the same ditch, the same stream that runs behind our house.
I was wondering about that.
Same
So,
one.
That one, okay, what was his name?
What?
Funeral director. He passed away, congressman or something, and Gary Finch.
Oh, yeah. That's the same stream.
That's the same creek,
Right,
right?
Yeah, right. So,
But it's not Yager.
no, it's
Right.
it's something
That's what I
run.
was wondering.
Yeah, it's called something run. I can't remember.
But
it right now.
Yager starts way up there in Fleming Scipio, right?
Yeah, but so down back, I've got a field on the other side of that stream that I used to be able to drive down through with tractors and balers and whatever and work that field. Not anymore. That has degraded probably 6 or 8 feet down, washed down. And the only thing that's stabilizing it now is these great big, glacial boulders that are laying down there. That's how much it has degraded from runoff. And the runoff now is like almost instantaneous. You get a half of an inch of rain and you go down there and that thing is just roaring.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the changes in the watershed. Taking out hedgerows, tile drains, cleaning open ditches in the fields. It just gives you more water quicker.
And New York was one of the few. We only added like 1,000 cows to our production, and our production was only down a little less than 1% year over year. And North Dakota's expanding, and I'm wondering where they're. I said this to one of the Raymond boys. I said, "You hear about that, Darian? They're going to build in North Dakota just over the Minnesota line because Minnesota's got more intense capital regulations now." He said, "No, I haven't." I said, "They're going to have a 25. They're having one 25,000 cow dairy, and they're adding and same operation, another 5,000 cow operation." He says, "Who are they going to sell that milk to?" He says, "Where are they going to get the water?" That was his response. Where are they
Yeah.
going to get the water?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that was somebody who's in the industry's perspective.
Right.
They didn't get the water.
Yeah. Well, I thought there was a surplus of milk, and how come they keep adding
More
cows?
cows. Well,
I heard the neighbor up here is going to put up another barn this year and add 700 more cows.
Well, in the rule of thumb I've read from Modern Farm or Successful Farm or Farm Journal, these farms have to grow 4.5% a year in order to stay sustainable. Well, and if
Okay. Okay.
And I think that's what their financiers
I'll tell you
demand.
one thing, it's nice to have good neighbors, though. We do have good neighbors here, and I know them all, and there's some big dairies right here.
Yeah,
And the one dairy that works the land right across the road from us, if we're gonna have an event here, they call up and wanna know if there's gonna be an event, because they won't spread manure. So, that's nice.
no, and
That's nice.
And I don't
But-
I don't mean to use a broad brush on everybody. 'Cause
No, I know, but on the other hand, a different farm owns, over here on the, west side. And a lot of times, they'll spread over there, and it would be a wedding here.
Your prevailing wind. Your
It's-
prevailing wind.
It's nasty. So I have to apologize to everybody. You're in the country now.
I thought, and I see it, I see many aspects improving since my 25 years on Quarry Road. You know, they'll talk to you. Usually you have to approach them first,
Yeah,
but they will talk to you once you approach them. I don't know, maybe they're just gun shy, you know. But I think most are trying. But I think they're in this part again where they're just stuck. This is the wheel we're on.
mm-hmm.
We got to keep churning this wheel. And I don't know what can, you know, what can the citizen do about it as an individual? I don't think
I
there's a
know,
lot.
I know, I know that.
A friend of mine wound up fleeing the state. You know, they ran her out. They ran her off. And
There's a lot of ambivalence, and that's part of the problem. Don't shake the tree.
well,
Ooh, don't shake the tree.
but you talk to